When I reached my brothers, all three were lying down. The martyr lifted his head and said, "Brother, I'm dying." When she looks, both of them were lying side by side. They were martyrs, they had been shot. When I turned him over like this, there were knives stuck here on his shirt. His mother said, "I reached him," and my brother also said, "I reached him." He pointed to my son, Shafiqullah. He was still breathing. He was saying, "Mother, mother." From the dark nights of struggle, to the bright dawn of independence. The dark night of Korgan Tepa. We, as a unified team on a research mission for the National Radio and Television, are traveling to all provinces of Afghanistan in order to document, in an evidence-based and factual manner, the crimes, atrocities, injustices, and hardships committed by the occupiers during the 20 years of occupation in various provinces, districts, and villages, and to present them to you for judgment. In the final moments of the day, we arrived in the area just as the golden rays of the sun were fading from the mountains of Korgan Tepa, and the dark shadow of night was spreading over them. This is the Korgan Tepa area of Kunduz province, a place where, at one time, heartbreaking stories unfolded. Every resident of this area carries untold accounts of the occupiers' brutality, stories so powerful that any living conscience would be deeply moved upon hearing them. We have made an effort to document the atrocities and brutality committed by the invaders in Korgan Tepa in this documentary, and to portray them through the language of imagery. The story of Korgan Tepa begins with a brutal and bloody incident. The calm and silence of the dark night is shattered by the terrifying sounds of bombs. The sounds of gunfire, the groans of the wounded, and the shattered bodies of the martyrs are etched in the minds of the local people like a terrible nightmare. In the dark night, innocent children search for the embrace of their mother and the side of their father through tears. On this night, someone's father, someone's mother, and someone's brother were martyred in utter helplessness. Korgan Tepa was soaked in the blood of innocent people, and the sounds of sobs and sighs rise from it. Here, we met someone whose only hope in life had been stolen by the past 20 years of occupation. The invaders martyred a mother's son in her arms.
First I came, I lifted up my son. He could not speak. But when I lifted my nephew, he spoke. Then his mother came, she held him in her arms, then held my nephew too. Then the other boys came after him, gathered around him. Then we went to the house, and he died. We had so many dreams, but not even one came true. I have 3 more sons, thank God. But none of them can take his place. He was unique in character, in ethics, in every way. Every word he spoke was remembered. Now, my brother was telling me a story, and my heart felt so weak. I remembered everything. His body was completely burnt, so much had been pressed into his chest. This place here, I pulled it, his shirt was stuck with knives. Here, their bones were lying in the field. They were gathered, his half-body was missing.
In Korgantepe, even the sky and the earth mourned and wept for the oppressed and helpless people. Raids and relentless bombings had stolen sleep from the eyes of the people of this area. The bloodthirsty beasts of the occupation showed no mercy, not even to the innocent little children.
Look at this burqa. From this very spot, I pulled out 11 children and 2 women. May God destroy and annihilate those who did this.
People couldn't even bury their martyrs, nor could they take their wounded to the hospital. From night until morning, they shed tears of helplessness over their martyrs and the injured. Abdul Baki, a resident of this village, had placed all his hopes and dreams in his beloved son. But the occupiers took him away with ruthless cruelty, leaving a dark scar of separation forever etched in his heart.
مازدیګرو زه لاړم جمعات ته بیا لمانځه وخت و جمعات ته لاړم فقط دغه جمعات ته مې دغه
It was afternoon, and I went to the mosque. It was prayer time. As soon as I stepped into the mosque, there was a loud bang. I said to myself, "Oh my God, those boys were out in the desert, grazing their livestock. I hope they weren't hit by the bullet." I prayed in fear and returned quickly. As I was leaving the mosque, there was another explosion. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. They were numb, completely numb. I heard another bang and hurried home. There was chaos, women running everywhere. By the time we reached the site, the boys were already completely shattered. 5 cattle were also shattered. They were also shattered. Then his mother said that she had found him. My brother said he had seen him too. He showed me my son Shafiqullah. He was still breathing. He said, "Mother, mother." Then he told me, "I came to my child. I woke him up. He was breathing, but his face and head were pale. He couldn't speak. His mother came. She took him in her arms. She placed his head in her hug. He opened his eyes once, and then he was gone. He surrendered his soul to the truth. We saw his clothes. They were completely burned. One of his legs was hanging loose. People had gathered. They spread out their shawls to gather their flesh. I dragged myself to the camp. When I arrived, they had already placed these martyred boys into their shawls and were carrying them to the camp. They were going to burn the camp, his mother and I. We were going through the worst time of our lives. We were devastated. We gathered the remains. It was a very difficult and painful scene.
The 20-year occupation not only took the lives of the people of this region, but also left a lasting impact on their souls and minds. His name is Jumago. The invaders brutally wounded his 3 innocent brothers. Jumago describes this bitter memory of his life as follows.
A mortar landed among my brothers. 3 of my brothers were injured. One of them later became a martyr, and the other 2 recovered. When I reached them, all 3 were lying down. The one who became a martyr lifted his head and said, "Brother, I am dying." I picked him up. He was soaked in blood. We rushed him to the hospital. On the way, before we reached the car properly, my brother passed away. The other 2 were then taken to Kunduz, to the 200-bed hospital. There, they recovered. But that one, he became a martyr since then. My mother has developed mental health problems. My father, sometimes he is calm, sometimes he isn't. He often fights with us. I myself don't feel mentally stable anymore. My brothers were just kids. One was 5, one was 7, and one was 9 years old.
Korgan Tepe was constantly under the blind gunfire and bombings of the occupiers.
I had one son named Muhammad Bilal, 18 years old. He was martyred in 1397, 2018, on the 8th June, by a mortar shell fired by the government. In the afternoon, we heard the mortar. I came home and found that my son was at the intersection. 11 people had been hit there. 6 were martyred, 5 wounded. Everyone was crying, screaming. When I got there, no one could speak to each other. I took my son's body. He was innocent. We couldn't even tell anyone what had happened. At the school nearby, 6 martyrs were buried. They were our neighbors, our relatives, my brother, our neighbor. We buried them here. We took the body and buried it. And that was it. Just Almighty Allah heard our scream. No one understood anyone's pain. When I reached that shop at the intersection, for people had fallen right there. 2 more just nearby. Wherever you looked, people were lying dead. When I reached the scene, there were only screams. I recognized my own son. That's how I found out. People came and took the wounded. They picked them up and rushed them to the doctor. In that place, we couldn't even hear our own voices. No one understood each other. Everyone was lost in their own grief.
From the north. Holy shit. Get over here, Eddie.
No one was shown mercy here. Humans, animals, and even the green fields were not spared from the brutality. Children would seek refuge in their mothers' arms out of fear, yet the ruthless enemy would martyr them even there. As a result of the invaders' air and ground attacks, every home in Korgan Tepe was reduced to ruins. Here, dozens of children were deprived of their father's love, and dozens of women became widows.
That morning, my brother went out early. He told his wife to send the tea after him, saying, "I'll send a boy back to bring it." One was my nephew and the other my brother. Every morning, they would go and bring the tea from the village to this valley. That morning, their mother was waiting for them, expecting them to come back with the tea. Suddenly, we heard gunshots, bang and bang. Both of them were shot and hit. They were lying in the mung bean field. We didn't know anything at first. When the gunshots stopped, everyone returned to their own work. I had gone out to collect some grass, and then returned home. I laid down and fell asleep. After some time, my sister-in-law came and said, "The boy hasn't come back for the tea. What happened?" She tried calling him, but he didn't answer. Tea time had passed. It was already 10 o'clock, then 11, and then 12. Still no response. She had prepared the food and tea and decided to head out. She left from the village toward a place called Kunchak, heading toward the middle point between 2 military outposts. When she arrived, she saw my brother's satchel and bicycle lying in the road, but he was nowhere to be seen. This woman, his mother, said, "This is my nephew's stuff. But where are they?" She went a bit further, between the posts, and found that they had been harvesting mung beans there. She looked, and both of them were lying side by side, martyred, shot dead. Their tea thermos and bread had been thrown on the ground. One of them, his head was wounded. She screamed and ran toward our house. I was still asleep. She stood right by my head and yelled, "May your house fall by God's will. Get up. Your brother and nephew have been shot and are lying dead. And you're here sleeping?" That shout shook me. I don't even remember what happened. My mind went blank. I jumped up and ran. People started running from all directions. Both of them were lying there side by side, martyred. From that grief and pain, I developed mental health problems. It broke me. From that moment on, I lost control. I became like a madman.
د دوی د درد او د هغه نه ډېره غمه زیاتې ماته د اعصابو تکلیف پیدا شو. تکلیف پیدا شو زیاتې ما به زیاتې همداسې لیونی وم لیونی.
From the fear of continuous gunfire, the cooking pot remained untouched on the stove, while the explosion of a mortar shell by the occupiers in the house caused the deaths of children from hunger and thirst. In those nights, the people's mud houses were not safe, closed doors were a sign of insecurity, and their minds were filled with fear. At that time, even finding a drop of blood to treat the wounded in the village of Korgantepe was difficult.
There were my 2 sisters and 1 niece. It was around 9 o'clock or 9:30 at night. We were asleep when a mortar shell landed nearby. I was sleeping on one side of the house, and the others, family members, were on the opposite side, where exactly it hit. We didn't know. Then suddenly there was a loud explosion. Dust and debris filled the house. No one could tell what had happened. I woke up and ran out immediately. My mother, she was already shouting. There was chaos everywhere. Those who were still alive were running, barefoot, bareheaded. I ran to where they had been sleeping. When I arrived and looked, they were lying there. One of them still had a bit of breath left. I picked her up and carried her. I carried her as far as the mosque. My uncle was with me. He said, "She's no longer breathing." Still, I couldn't accept it. I carried her further up to the checkpoint, but it was blocked. We tried taking her toward the market. There, a doctor checked her and said, "She has passed away." She had become a martyr. We took the other girl toward Kalbat. We gave her blood. My blood type matched hers. No one else's blood group was compatible. We gave her 500 cubic centimeters of blood. By 12 o'clock we were headed toward Kunduz. We reached Kunduz Hospital, but even there, blood was in short supply. Phones were cut off. We couldn't reach anyone. In the morning, we managed to contact home. My mother and some relatives arrived. Eventually, we found compatible blood for her too. But for the other girl, we couldn't find a match in time. She also became a martyr. That pain, it's unforgettable. Even now, it chokes me up. When someone asks me about it, it's as if I'm reliving the moment, barefoot, bareheaded, with just a thin shawl and shirt, soaked in blood. I reached Kunduz Hospital. I didn't even have shoes. For one whole night and day, they remained martyred. They weren't Taliban, they were civilian women, just sleeping. They weren't hit from our side. There was no battle, no fighting. If it had been a battle, we would have moved away to safety. But there was no combat at all.
At that time, the people of Korgantepe had never seen the ruthless aircraft that flew in the sky, leaving nothing hidden from their view. The sounds of the occupiers and aircraft were signs of unending destruction and always posed a threat to the grieving people of this region.
تقریبا 11 کاله مخکې یو زما ورور د مدرسې طالب و.
About 11 years ago, one of my brothers was a student at a madrasa, and the other was my uncle's son. He was a child, about 12 or 13 years old. It was winter, the weather was very cold. My brother and I had gone for a walk. My uncle and I were walking around, and then a drone was flying from the direction we were coming from. One day, it was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the drone flew. We were not even aware of it. At one point, the neighbors called and said that a couple of people had been shot down by a drone. When we arrived, they were lying in pieces. One half of their body was missing. One leg was missing. They were completely in pieces. It was a very sad scene on me. He was very dear to me. He was also older than me. He was a young man. I was very young at that time. It was a very painful scene. We felt a lot of pain for him. The other uncle's son was also very young. He was a very nice boy. It really affected me. It caused me mental problems. My father developed his own mental problem, paralysis. My mother is also suffering from nervous tension. Sometimes her tension rises, and it has worsened the situation of everyone in the house, because 2 people left our house. My uncle's son became like a member of our family, so it was a very difficult event.
The devoted Mujahideen of Korgan Tepa reached the end of their patience against the oppressions of the invaders. Groups of young men joined the sacred ranks of jihad against the occupiers, and the spirit of jihad spread widely. Mujahideen fought for many years, and finally, truth triumphed over falsehood. With the victory of the Islamic Emirate and the end of the occupation, the sky over Korgan Tepa, which was once circled by clouds of gunpowder smoke, now welcomes the rising sun of freedom. The dark nights have given way to hope and joy. The people of Korgan Tepa, who were away from their homes for many years, have returned once again to their lands and are rebuilding their destroyed homes. These people now live in an atmosphere of independence, peace, security, and brotherhood.
Now, praise be to Allah, we are very grateful to the Almighty. A great blessing from Allah has come upon us, that these mujahideen and scholars have arrived. They have brought us great happiness. This is truly something to be thankful for. Our lives are safe at night, our honor is protected, and our property is secure. Whether it is night or day, we can go out freely, no one bothers us, even if we carry gold on our backs. No one questions us, no one asks where it's from, whose it is, or where we are taking it.
In their 5 daily prayers, they raise their hands in gratitude to Allah Almighty for the freedom, independence, and complete peace that have come.